then we could be depressed. If you want to talk about New York City, which the question is, a little bit longer cycle.
Today we're really talking, Kent, more about Lower Manhattan.
Okay, but I'm saying Lower Manhattan. Here's the scoop: highest tourist traffic behind Times Square is on Broad and Wall Street. Now, take a little tiny island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean called Hawaii, where Pearl Harbor is, and how many millions and millions of people go there just to pay respects to what happened there on December 7th, right? Take a look now at the only other place really that the United States was physically attacked, which happened to be, sadly and terribly, New York City. Okay? And look when the memorial goes up and how many millions of people will be coming here on top of the millions of people that are already here. And it will answer the question of why one needs more hotel rooms. Because it is a highly trafficked population already. Business community is growing in there, thankfully. Not necessarily now, but it had been. And you're going to have you're going to add on top of a tourist traffic population one of the memorials that, first of all, everybody can get to New York a lot easier than Hawaii, and everybody wants to go to New York all the time, and it's going to add a huge amount of population in there. So there will be that kind of stimuli in the marketplace for hotel traffic, for retail traffic, et cetera. So
and
long term, it's needed.
You'll have the memorial on top of at least 10 million more square feet of office space just on the Trade Center itself. You have cultural institutions which are either new or expanding. You have new retail opportunities down there. South Street Seaport is going to be redeveloped.
Speaking about the Seaport, what's happening there? I mean, general growth is, as we would say, in dread. They're in major trouble. Okay, what's going to happen with the Seaport? I mean, this is such a great asset.
It is a great asset.
It's a great asset, you know, with great opportunities. What's happening?
We're working very closely with General Growth. We have an agreement in principle with them that we're taking through the city's land use review process. We hope that by the end of next year that it will have come out of the land use review process and that work can begin there. We're looking to significantly expand the retail there. We're looking to build new hotel rooms there. We're looking to create new amenities for the community, turn it into something that's less just an attraction for tourists and more an attraction for the 50,000+ people who live in Lower Manhattan. And we're confident that it's going to get built. It's something that General Growth, that is of interest to General Growth and would be of interest to any developer.
I think that's the key. Any developer, because we're not certain with this capital markets and everything else and what General Growth has done in their own financial condition, if it will be General Growth. Hopefully it will, but somebody should take that asset. I mean, look at your property in Maiden Lane. It's right over there, and your property's over there. I mean, the Seaport is a great...
It's a great anchor asset on the east side to what Larry's doing on the west side.
Battery Park is, I think, one of the greatest urban developments in this country. The amenity that was created is just extraordinary. I live in Greenwich Village, next to Washington Square Park, but when I take my kids out on the weekend, we often go down to Battery Park because it's such an amazing place and full of a variety of things that families and children like to do.
And the city is working on a similar development on the east side now.
Exactly, and we have the Seaport, and we have, you know, East River plans that are being in early states of discussion.
I have a daughter who has just moved from Scarsdale to Lower Manhattan, 2 blocks north of 7 World Trade Center. She's there with her family, kids, and the whole 9 yards. She's the neighborhood, she says, fantastic. The excitement, the vibrancy, the vitality of it is just a pleasure. And we were there. We spent a little time there Saturday and Sunday over this past weekend. And we looked around. It was just, it's a young community, right? Young people, people your age, and it's just the vitality of it is such a spectacular thing to experience when you're down there. And one of the things, you know, that's going to further change this area. Yes, we're going to be adding back at least 10+ million square feet at the Trade Center, but part of that footage will be 500,000 square feet of destination, first-class quality retail. So you'll have big boxes, little boxes, department stores, retail of every type and description, and it will have an enormously positive impact on the people who live there.
You know, I think with regard to retail, and I have to bring this up to my audience, the highest sales per square foot in the world is in downtown Manhattan in retail at Century 21. more people go to Century 21. You know, you talk about tourists. Everybody who's there goes to Century 21. It's
an institution.
It's an institution, and you know, it's
if you don't want to buy anything, you still visit it.
I think what Larry's saying, and one of the things we as developers know, but even we have to conceptualize it, is we know that when you build something somewhere, it redefines the location. It gives it a totally different experience than when it's what it was before or an empty lot. Downtown has a lot of things going for it right now. Battery Park and Wall Street and the revival and all these things. But when Larry gets finished, the impact of that extraordinary new development and all of the amenities that go with it are going to make an enormous, that's going to be a whole, we're in a good place from a community point of view now, but that's going to make a whole push forward. Downtown, when I first started looking downtown and becoming more familiar with it 20-odd years ago, whenever it was, I would go down there on Saturday and Sunday and walk around, and, there was hardly a person, except there were people who looked like they weren't from New York, and they weren't, because what I discovered was that for a long time it was a tourist destination, and many of us didn't realize it. The tourists, as Ken said, have been coming there for a long time, and they're going to come even more because of what Larry's doing and all the new things that are going on there. So I think, we're going through a bump, but the ascendancy of downtown is going to continue and be very dramatic.
One of the things to recognize, the port today announced the new timetable and the determination to move ahead and get this thing done. Part of it is the decision to build the new PATH terminal. It's a design by Santiago Calatrava, which is absolutely extraordinary in terms of its impact. When you look at the design itself, you realize the majesty and the beauty of this building. There is another Calatrava building in America. It's on the lakefront of Lake Michigan in Milwaukee. And we flew out there just to look at this museum. Spectacular building. And what we're going to have is a replica of that and the power that it will attract.
So in conclusion, because we finished 30 minutes, I think everyone here is saying we're in tough economic times, but the future is bright for downtown. And I think with 3 developers and with a great president of New York City Economic Development Corporation, it's going to be there. I'd like to thank Larry Silverstein, Ken Swig, Francis Greenberger, and Seth Pinsky. The week after, we're talking about the office market in New York, and that's going to be a very interesting show. See you in a week.
Major funding for these programs has been provided by grants from Capital One Bank and Perfect Building Maintenance, Murray Hill Properties, SJP Properties, Greenberg Traurig, New York Community Bank, Bank of America. Additional funding for these programs has been provided by grants from Akron Gold Brothers, LLC, C.B. Richard Ellis, City Investment Fund, Cushman & Wakefield, Eastern Consolidated, XL Realty Advisors, LP, Essex Capital Partners, First American Title Insurance Company of New York, Gemini Real Estate Advisors, GVA Williams, Hal Fettner, Durst Fettner Residential, Helmsley Spear, Herbert J. Sims and Company, Herrick Feinstein, LLP, Jackson Development Group, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, John Katzimatidis, Kilroy Metal Products, Marcus and Millichap, Massey Knackle Realty Services, M&T Bank, Madison Realty Capital, Meridian Capital Group, Newmark Knight Frank, Muss Development, Palin Enterprises, Rosenthal and Rosenthal, Signature Bank, Sheldrake Organization, Sterling and Sterling, Stephen Napolitano, Stonehenge Partners, Studley, the Moynihan Organization.